So I'm very happy to be here, and it's my I cannot say my first visit because I came two years ago for a quick tasting in Long Island, but I'm very happy to came a little bit early 3 days ago to see the vineyard around and to feel what maybe what will be this symposium. And speaking about cool climate today, we can see there is a little bit rain here, so it's interesting. And I think Steve says this morning that he is not very organized compared to the people who speak yesterday. I think I can easily compete with him. I'm not very organized myself. And to let you know, it's only 2-3 weeks I start to use a computer, so it's 2-3 weeks ago. So saying that, I will try to show you some picture, okay? So this is a vineyard in Sancerre, and speaking about the Loire region, you know, in France we are a little bit, how do you say that? We say chauvinist, but prejudiced, no? Do you say prejudiced? We like to speak about our terroir. We like to say that the terroir in Europe, and especially in France, are maybe the best, but it's a little bit too much, I think. So there is about 80,000 hectares of Sauvignon Blanc in the world, and 30% are in France. I should have those figures on the screen, but I don't receive it. So 80,000 hectares of Sauvignon Blanc in the world, 30% in France, and only 3,500 hectares in Sancerre and Pouilly-Fumé, which are considered like a little bit like, sorry again to speak like that, but Sancerre, Pouilly-Fumé are still considered like the home of Sauvignon Blanc, even if New Zealand is coming now with I think 10,000 hectares. So what we have in the Loire, maybe I hope you know that where is the Loire, where is Sancerre. I don't have a map, sorry. So I'm sure you know Paris. Where is Paris? And Sancerre is 200 kilometers south of Paris. So in miles, it should be 120, 130 miles. So let's say it's the same time to go from Long Island to New York than to go from Sancerre to Paris. So of course we have this kind of cool climate, but we have 3 different kind of soil. It's very important to say that the soil are so important in Sancerre and Pouilly-Fumé. We have clay, we have flint, and we have chalk. So I try to show you the picture of the soil. Oops, everything is falling down. Why is it? So, yeah. So the chalk on the right, and what we call clay, it's argile, how do you say argile? Earth and chalk together. So it's true to say that there is a little bit more, the pH is a little bit higher for flint, silex, than for chalk and clay. So it's, the nature of the soil affects, of course, the style of the wine. And what we did in the winery, when I did start myself, honestly, I didn't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I was very conscious when I was young about the natural foods, and not so early the natural wine, but I was very concerned about something natural to eat. And it happens to me when I started to this company, I was thinking, I need to do something to produce a natural wine. And at this time, I didn't have any vineyard. I just bought juice, not grapes first, but only juice. And I was thinking the best way to do natural wine is to do a natural winemaking. And it's what I would like to speak about today. Everybody speak about the organic viticulture, about biodynamic viticulture. So we can say there is about 4 different kind of winemaking today. One is, I don't know if we can say traditional, or Kurt told me something. Conventional, yeah, thank you, Kurt. So conventional, like we do for the last 30, 40, 50 years. Then comes lutte raisonnée. Now I should ask Gilles. Sustainable, thank you. Which means that we try not to use any chemical, only when it's necessary. Then biodynamic. And what is important for me, what was important at this time was to think, okay, I have no vineyard, but I will start to do a natural wine. And today, most of people, when they speak about organic wine, they think this wine is organic, but it doesn't mean the wine is organic because it's only organic when you speak about the viticulture. So I was thinking, when you get the grape, when you get the juice, you need to be natural. I hope you understand what I try to say. Organic wine is only organic viticulture today, and there is no definition about organic winemaking. And it's what we try to do in our winery, to define our own style and our own organic, I don't want to use this word, just say natural winemaking. So what we do, basically, today we own more vineyard, so we have about 50 hectares, which is 125 acres. It's about 2/3 in Sancerre and Pouilly-Fumé and 1/3 in the Touraine area near, I don't know if you know the Château de la Loire. It's in around Tours, Amboise. So what we do about the natural vinification is quite simple. Now in our vineyard today we are not conventional anymore. We do use lutte raisonnée, and some vineyards are organic. So we receive the grapes and we build a new winery 7 years ago, which helped us to do the wine by gravity on 4 different levels. Maybe I have some picture. Maybe. It doesn't work. What happened? No, it doesn't work. I need help. Be patient. Huh? Okay. So we receive I told you we have 4 different levels in the winery, and the idea, our winery is on a little hill. So I was thinking better to build a winery on different level to do this gravity system. So we do about 0.5% of the harvest by hand and 0.5% with a machine, but this is not systematic. It depends of the vintage. When the grapes are very healthy, we have a tendency to do more by hand, and it depends also about the hill. So when we receive the grape, as you see in a flat tank, a big tank, but we have a screw who push the grapes on a conveyor, as you see, conveyor. Should be a laser, yeah, conveyor. And people sort the grapes on each side of the conveyor. But the idea is to get healthy grapes and not to touch the grape, to touch the grape as less as possible. And the grapes fall down on the top of the press. It's very disorganized, my presentation, I'm sorry. I don't know where is the press, so. Oops. Maybe the press is not here. But you have seen the same yesterday. It's a bûcher. I'm stuck. Bon, sorry, no press. I've seen the press yesterday. But most of you know what is a bûcher. Huh? Okay. So, thank you. No, it's not finished. Why it doesn't work with me, only with me? Bon, I'm sorry. Huh? So, the grapes arrive on the top of the press, and it's very important we do a gentle pressing. And after getting the juice, the juice are very cloudy, and it's where we start to do something, which means we don't do anything. We don't, maybe for the winemakers, it should be surprising because some people told me that it's crazy to do that, but we don't do that every vintage. But when the vintage is a good vintage, when the grapes are very healthy, we don't clarify the juice at all. We just send the juice by gravity in different tank. We separate all the different origin, I mean flint, clay, and chalk. Okay, so we do what we call a cold débourbage. You know débourbage in English? I don't know. Settling. Okay, so the sediment are going down, and we just do a temperature control. I would like to move this picture. Is there a battery inside? Or maybe no battery. No? What do you think? Or maybe it's me.
Let me see if I can get it.
So speaking about the winery, I'm personally, maybe I will shock some people here, but I'm personally against oak for Sauvignon Blanc in the Loire, and we don't use any oak at all for Sauvignon Blanc. So we do use only stainless steel tank with a temperature control system, and we do this cold débourbage around 6 Celsius, so Fahrenheit, how much is it? 52, okay, so cold débourbage, thank you. So you can see the winery here. So the juice arrive in those different tanks. We do this cold débourbage around 6 degrees, and we go to 18 to make the fermentation. And it's very important to notice that the fermentation is very long. Normally, when you clarify the juice, when you add cultured yeast, it takes like in Sancerre, for most of people who do that, it takes like 1 week, 10 days. In our case, it takes like minimum one month, 6 weeks minimum, and it should be 4 months. So one of the 2 wines you will taste today had a 4 months fermentation, which is incredible, but believe me, it was 4 months. So maybe, because I start to be thirsty myself, maybe you should try the first wine during I speak. So the first wine is named Sauvage. Sauvage is, should we translate savage or wild? Wild. Okay, so it's the first organic, not organic wine, but wines coming from the organic viticulture that we have done.
Question.
Yes.
What do you do to maintain health of the must?
The must. What do you do to maintain what?
What do you do to maintain the health of the juice and new wine as it's fermenting over a 30-day to 4-month period?
I think I asked Gilles to translate in French, sorry. Can you help me for this question? Not to answer, but to tell me the question.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais pour garder la fermentation si longue?
In fact, what we do, we always do this 18 Celsius fermentation, which is Fahrenheit, how much? 18?
No, it's less, I think it's 45 degrees.
45, okay. So we do a cold fermentation, but we don't program any duration of the fermentation, you know. But what is very important, and we try to do everything logical in the winery. Let's say if you do a systematic treatment in the vineyard. Let's say if you do a treatment like 2-3 weeks before harvesting, it's obvious that your yeast, natural yeast, will not be very active. So as we do this sustainable or organic viticulture, we get much more active natural yeast. So we have the last 12 or 15 years, we notice 3% of problem of fermentation. It means 97% of time, the fermentation is done from the beginning to the end, from 3-4 weeks to 4 months. So we don't do anything special to maintain this fermentation. We just control every day. I mean, the winemaker Jean-Luc, who works with me, doesn't sleep too much during 2-3 weeks at the beginning of the fermentation, and every night, every day, we control what happens in the winery. But we control. The idea is to use the technology, not to make technical wines, but to control what we do in a mechanical way. Do you understand what I try to say? Oh, thank you. So, you know, we cannot say when we put the juice in the tank that it will be a 1 month or 2 months or 5 weeks fermentation. We don't know. We just control every day if the sugar is going lower and lower. Is it a good answer to your question or not?
I'm understanding you. What's the maximum fermentation temperature that this would reach?
We never go over 19, so sorry to 19.
That's 66 degrees.
Yeah. We define that, we think that 18 is a good level of temperature that we want. Because as you know, more you go to a low temperature, more you get aromas. But the style of wine that we want to define is all about elegance, finesse, and character. So with Sauvignon Blanc, it's so easy to make aromatic wines, but when you make aromatic wines or too much aromas, you lose the body, and your wines are very short on the finish. So we try to define this Jolivet style like finesse, elegance, you know. Yes?
Can you talk about residual sugar and balancing the acidity that you have in the wine that you make?
Yeah. It's like, you know, politic people in France, I don't know, but when sometimes they say, oh, it's a good question, thank you. It's what... And no, it's a key point, seriously, it's a key point. We have quite a good acidity in Sancerre. I don't speak about 2003, because 2003, I don't know in America, but in 2003, it was the only vintage that we have been allowed to reacidify. I forget to tell you something which is obvious for me, but of course, with the AOC system in France, we are not allowed to reacidify. We are stuck in a process which is very controlled. And in 2003, for the first time in France, ENAO did make the authorization to reacidify, and we don't have his authorization to irrigate either. So the acidity level is quite good in Sancerre and Pouilly-Fumé. It's between 5 and 5.5 average. Sometimes we get 6, like in 2002 or 2007, but sometimes we go down. We are less, like about 3.5 or 4.
Sulfuric acid or tartaric acid?
Tartaric acid. I don't know the translation with your... Sorry?
TA, it's not sulfuric?
TA? Yes.
L'acidité, c'est un acide sulfurique?
Yes, it is. So it's what we notice about the winemaking that we do with this long fermentation. The acidity at the end of we lose a little bit acidity. It's obvious that when we do a 1 week fermentation and 2-3 months fermentation, we lose a little bit acidity. And more important than that, the acidity after 2 months fermentation, like on this wine, if you agree, the acidity is very well integrated. So our wines are never aggressive. The acidity is there to balance with the fruit, but it's not something which is aggressive. And also, to answer to your question, the residual sugar, when you do a quick fermentation, you go very down to the sugar and you go under less than 1 gram residual sugar, which is dry, 0.5, 0.7, 0.8. But in our wines, we have most of the time about 2. So we get a little bit less acidity, very little bit, let's say 10% less acidity than most of the Sancerre and Pouilly-Fumé, and we get a little bit more residual sugar. But when I say residual sugar, it's 2. It's not like yesterday we spoke about 8, 10, 12 for Riesling, so it's 2. It's a very small sugar. But it's true to say that the balance of the wine is a little bit different. Let's say that after such a long fermentation, it's like somebody who ran like a marathon at the end. The naturalists are a little bit essoufflé, how do you say that? tired. There is a danger. For example, this is Sauvage 06, and fortunately or unfortunately, the only tank with the 07 which has made malolactic is this wine, Sauvage. So Sauvage 07, the same, has made malolactic, but it was not our intention. And we notice that after malolactic in 07, we get even more acidity than with this one. So the importance of the vintage in the Loire is really there, and it's what we have, and I think you have the same here. The cool climate means that every vintage has a different aspect.
When you have fermentations like that, you clearly must have problems with some fermentations, and what do you do with
Sorry?
when the yeast just stop and
Yeah.
you're not ready for them to stop? What do you...
What we do, what we call in France pied de cuve, it means that we put out from the tank a small, let's say if it's a 50 hectoliters tank, we take about 10-15% of the tank and we inoculate. It means that what I say before, 3% in the last 15 years, we have to add a cultured yeast. But 3% of the total production for the last 15 years. It's not a lot. Of course, we take a risk. But it's our own risk. I can tell you, Jean-Luc, our winemaker, came to the winery in 1990. He did have his degree of Faculté de Montpellier. And I don't have the laser, but let's say when I did tell him that I really would like him to make the vinification with natural yeast, his face became like the white here. Okay? But today, 15 years later, he wouldn't be back to this, let's say, more classic winemaking. There is a big risk, but I believe that if you don't take any risk, you cannot make fantastic wine. We try to do it. If we think that if we do this, do you say systematic? Systematic in English? Is it the same word? When you do this systematic winemaking, you standardize the style of the wine. And I personally believe if Sancerre Pouilly-Fumé is only, 5% of the total production of Sauvignon Blanc worldwide, and if we want to keep this kind of icon position for Sauvignon Blanc in Sancerre, we should take risk. We shouldn't be everywhere, because we have the terroir, we have the cool climate, we have everything to make wine which are a little bit different. For me, it should be a danger to standardize our wines. Our production is quite small, so we need to take this risk. And I personally like to take, I like to win, I don't like to lose, but I like to take the risk. Yes?
Do you use any ascorbic acid?
No. We don't use ascorbic, we don't use citric acid. Is it the same word, ascorbic, in... Yeah. We don't use citric acid. Of course, we don't use tartric acid. Coming back to 2003, maybe you will think we are a little bit stubborn. 95% of people in Sancerre and Pouilly-Fumé did use tartric acid in 2003. We didn't do it. And I'm personally very happy that we didn't do it, because the effect on the wine was not more than for a few months. I don't know if you know what happened in 2003 in France, but it was the warmest condition that we had for the last 20, 30 years. 76 was the warmest, and 2003 was also more or less equivalent. It was very sad. It's very sad to say that, in France we don't have the same, air condition like you have in the US, and more than 6,000 old people die in France just due to the bad condition. So it was exceptionally warm in France, and we did harvest this vintage end of August, which is 1 month earlier than usual. answer your question, I don't want to say we'll never say never. I mean, we always try to be as natural as possible. For example, in 2006, in 2007, it's a little bit different. 2006, 100% of the wine has been vinified with no SO2 before fermentation. We just did add SO2 after fermentation. Okay. In 2007, we had a LC grape, but not as LC as 2006. So most of the wine of 2007 has been vinified with no SO2 before fermentation, but some had. You know, we are not crazy when the grape are not exactly LC as we want them to be. We have to be careful. So it's all about what we feel and what we see. And I don't want to tell you we don't do anything because it's not true. But as much as possible, we try to follow our natural winemaking. Can I taste a little bit? Maybe drink. So this wine is a very small production. It's only 6,000 bottles. And it was our first experience with organic viticulture. And in fact, as I did bought the first vineyard in 1992. You know, it's very difficult to, you don't have to slap in your hand and say, okay, today I'm organic. Yesterday I was white and today I'm other color. So it doesn't work like that. So I like to go quick, but you know, sometimes you cannot go as quick as you want. So I did ask a friend of mine, who is the only one today which is certified organic in Sancerre. But we do have a very good relation, and his two sons came to work in the winery a few years ago. So I did ask him to do a kind of experience with me. So we did a partnership on a few vineyards, and it was the idea to use a little vineyard of him to make this wine, and then I made a contract, agreement with him to do I'm sorry, I need your help again. To do in French an accord, agreement. Oh? Right, thank you. To do an agreement on a part of our vineyard to make it to ask him to do this organic viticulture. Why is it certified? So now, let's say 20% of our vineyard, our own vineyard, are organically made. So it's my turn to ask you a question. Do you notice a little bit difference, or is it because I tell you it's organic viticulture? Can you find a little bit difference with this wine, or do you agree with me that the aroma compared to most of Sauvignon Blanc is a little bit more restrained? And do you agree that the acidity is very integrate, or do you totally disagree, which I can accept?
It's a beautiful wine.
Hmm?
First question, I have a question more on pricing.
Pressing?
Pricing.
Yes.
What kind of pricing do you do? Is it different than what the other Sancerre producers are doing?
No, a lot of producers use the same kind of press that we have, this Bucher. I don't remember. Yesterday we have seen exactly the same press than we use. But the main difference is not on the pressing, because we do a gentle press. The main difference is on the fact that when we get the cloudy juice, we don't clarify the juice, we don't add any, how do you say, enzyme? We don't add any enzyme. Let's say, again, we're not crazy. If we get very, very damaged grapes, we'll probably have to add enzyme. But in most of cases, we don't add any enzyme.
Do you destem the grapes and crush the grapes prior of pressing, or do you do
destem. No, we don't destem the Sauvignon Blanc grapes. I will tell you about Pinot Noir if you like, but Pinot Noir we destem, but Sauvignon Blanc we don't destem at all.
The whole cluster of pressing?
Yes.
Is it a usual pricing, I mean, style in Sancerre?
Yeah, the usual style in Sancerre is not too distant.
Pascal, I agree too. It's a beautiful wine, and I do find the aromas a little bit restrained from typical, very high-toned, aggressive Sauvignon Blanc aromas. And our experience here on Long Island with indigenous yeast fermentations of Sauvignon Blanc is very similar, that it adds that breadth and complexity and depth to the wine, and especially persistence of length, which you definitely find in both of these wines.
Yeah, thank you. I can tell you, I did start a very small joint venture in New Zealand last year with a winery in Hawke's Bay, which is on the north of New Zealand. It's the winery is named Trinity Hill, and I make friends with the owner in London. They have 2 restaurants, and we do know each other for the last 4 or 5 years. And after visit New Zealand, I finally decided to make a small joint venture with them. And the idea, because it's not I don't like New Zealand wine, but I'm like Steve, I like the wine to be matched with the food. And I did find that New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc are very nice, very aromatic, very a little bit greeny sometimes for me, very easy to recognize for a young generation, but it's not exactly the style that I like to produce. So we did this small joint venture, and the idea was to make a kind of mix between the New Zealand terroir and the Jolivet natural winemaking. So Jean-Luc, the winemaker, went to New Zealand in 2007 and 2008, and we tried to make this natural winemaking, not to clarify the juice, not using the natural yeast of the grapes. And it's true that the wine is very different compared to, let's say, compared to the Trinity Hill Sauvignon Blanc, which is coming from the same vineyard with a classic New Zealand vinification. So I really think that the natural winemaking affects the style of the wine. And you know, it's everybody say, okay, I try to make a good wine. In my case, I like to say that we have a style that we define. It didn't come like after 2 or 3 years. I think after, let's say, 12, 15 years, we now define a style for Jolivet, which is very different. If you do a blind tasting with, let's say, 10 Sancerre, I'm more than happy if somebody tell me, oh, this wine is different. Should be your wine. I'm more than happy than if somebody tell me, oh, this wine is the best, because the style, the vintage, we cannot, with this cool climate again, we are depending on the vintage, but the style should remain the same, even if the vintage is really different.
I want to see if I understood your definition of natural winemaking versus conventional, because I'm not sure I'm seeing much difference.
Maybe it's my English, I'm sorry.
Well, what I got from you is the following. What makes your fermentation natural is mostly the fact that you like to use indigenous yeast, you don't like to inoculate. But you do use machine harvesting, you use refrigeration, you use an elevator, and you use...
What you call elevator is...
the conveyor. And therefore, you also use SO2, and when needed, you inoculate. So it seems like the only difference between your natural winemaking versus conventional is that you use indigenous yeast.
I'm sorry, I cannot agree with you.
Okay. What did I miss?
No. Just if you say you use SO2, you make an analysis of this wine, and you will see.
No.
If we use this, no, I mean.
You mentioned that you use SO2. Am I correct?
No. I mentioned that we don't use any SO2 before fermentation. I just say for this wine and for 100% of the 06 vintage, and let's say 80% of the 07 vintage, we don't add SO2 before fermentation.
Fair enough. But
Our
you
SO
add it afterwards, right?
Of course, we have to.
Right.
And I can give you the rate. I mean, how do you say the rate or the level? SO2 level is about 35, which is 20-30% less. And you say free, or what do you say, free? Yeah, it's less than 100. So,
but I mean,
considering SO2, but now considering the fact that we only add, we only use indigenous yeast. It's not the only point, because not only we use the indigenous yeast, but we don't clarify the juice. We don't add any enzyme, which is a lot. 90%, 95% of winemaker in my region, they use enzyme and they clarify the juice. So it's not only indigenous yeast. It's a natural process of fermentation.
I thought you mentioned that you actually refrigerate the juice down to 6 degrees to settle.
It depends. If we have a lot of sediment, we go to 6. If we don't have too much, we go to 8 or 10. It depends.
Because to me, that's conventional winemaking. That's what we do. We don't call it natural. So I think the difference that I see between what you do and what you do is that you use natural yeast or indigenous yeast, because all yeast is natural.
The philosophy, the idea is to do most of things mechanical, to control with a cold temperature, using stainless steel and cold temperature, instead of using chemical product in the winery. It's what I tried to say at the beginning. There is a huge difference between organic wine and wines coming from organic viticulture. Because most of the supposedly organic wine, maybe they are not anymore organic when the grapes arrive in the winery. It's what I try to explain.
Thank you.
Yes?
Yes. What is your optimum harvest parameter?
Optimum what?
Do you look for when you say this is now time to bring the grapes in? What do you look for? Your sugar, your acids, what is the optimal ratio?
You mean what when we optimum maturity of the grapes? Of course, we try to control for 3-4 months before the harvest. We check every 2-3 days potential alcohol level. And again, speaking about cool climate, I think most of you in Long Island and us in the Loire, we are lucky and unlucky. We are lucky because this cool climate allowed us to produce wine which are not too made with too much alcohol, and the wine are not too extract. And what I did like last Monday when I taste the wine from Long Island, they have finesse, they have elegance, they are not too extract, they are not big wines, and it's what we try to do. I don't like to produce Sauvignon Blanc which are 13.5 or 14 alcohol degree. So we try to pick the grape at the right time to make wine which are to balance the alcohol level and the acidity. The acidity, unfortunately, it's not. We cannot do too much because every vintage is different. But the key point is for us to pick the grape at a certain level of maturity, which means at Jolivet maybe we pick the grapes a little bit early than some of our colleague or competitor, because we don't like to produce wine with too much alcohol.
Pascal, can you pour the Andigen?
Sorry?
Le Fumé, can you pour the Le Fumé?
Yes. Did you pour it?
No, we're gonna pour it.
Okay. So the second wine you taste today is Indigène. Those two wines are very new. It's the first vintage we produce those two wines. So Indigène means indigenous. Okay. So we use a vineyard from Silex, flinty soil, which is not organic, but it's again lutraisonné. It's so difficult for me to say that. Sustainable. Maybe at the end of the day I will know. So it's a very interesting experience for us. As I told you before, the flint give us much more. Maybe I should show some of the picture. You don't mind? Can I let you do it? Or? Still doesn't. Oh yeah, it's okay. Okay, you can move to some. It's a picture of the two wines. Yeah. This is the winery from the back, as I told you, we do by gravity. So the right part of the winery is a place where we have what we call the vendangeoir. We receive the grapes. The laser is working or not? Yeah. So we receive the grapes around here. We receive the grapes here on the top of the winery, and the tank are about here, like 6 meters down. So this wine, Indigène, was very interesting for us because it's we did do more and more sélection parcellaire the last few years, and we did use this flinty soil to make Indigène, and the idea was also to make a very different wine. And as I told you, we have a little bit more acidity coming from the flinty soil. It's natural from the soil. And the fermentation was exceptionally long. It takes 4 months. 4 months with non-stop, means slowly during 4 months. And it's, I don't know if you agree with me, but this wine is really all about fruit. No SO2 before fermentation, of course. So the wine, during a few months after bottling, was still did still have the aromas of fermentation. And I think like still today, you really get the fruit. And for me, making wine, I mean, when I have a wine which is when you can smell and taste the fruit, it's what is the best you can do.
Pascal, I find this wine another beautiful wine, but a little bit denser and broader.
Yes.
Do you always find that in your Poulet Fumé versus a more angular Sancerre?
Yeah, I will ask a glass to compare and to speak better about the wine, but it's true that it's true to say that Sancerre is more obvious, maybe more straight. Sancerre is a little bit more lemony on the taste. It should be the best match with oysters, Sancerre, for example, with seafood. Pouilly Fumé, thank you. Pouilly Fumé has a little bit more energy, a little bit more complexity. Maybe you can find much more grapefruit than lemon. And the capacity of aging is also maybe a little bit more on Pouilly Fumé. Yes? Yes.
I believe there are 5 hamlets entitled to the appellation Sancerre, like Verdigny, Chavignon, Boulet, and so on. So my question to you is, are all of your properties in the same spot, like they're all Chavignon, or are they split up into the different hamlets? And what do you do with the grapes that you source from each spot if you have different OEODs instead of all coming from one particular terroir? Since terroir is so important.
Okay. I hope I understand everything, but you ask me about the origin of the soil. We have very different origin. Our grapes are coming from about 8 different villages, and the production in Sancerre is very, how do you say, atomized? Atomized? Is it correct in English? Atomisé? Very dispersé? Okay, very dispersed. So we have grapes from different village and different kind of soil, and we always vinify separately the different soil origin. We do a few what we call sélection parcellaire. Is there a name for that in English? Vineyard selection. We do. For example, in Sancerre, we have les Caillottes, we have le Chêne Marchand, we have le Clos du Roi, we have les Bouffons now. It's a new parcel. But for our classic Sancerre, we like to make a blend after the fermentation, and it's a very big part of our job with Jean-Luc and me. We like to make a wine, our classic Sancerre, which is balanced, and the balance is coming from the different origin. So we use about, normally, 50% of choke origin. Choke gives the structure, the body of the wine. Choke or chac? How do you say? Chac? Chac, sorry. Oui? 20 more minutes. Sorry? 20 minutes. 20 minutes? Oh, time is flying. Do you try to tell me that I speak too quick or too...
Can you describe what is the altitude of your vineyard? What is the length of your growing season?
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't finish the previous one. No, it's okay. No, I want to tell you, it's very important for me to speak about this balance between the three soils. So the chalk, gives the structure, the body. The clay gives much more fruit to the wine. And the flint, the silex, give much more minerality. And we like to balance these three kind of soil to make our classic Sancerre. And again, the philosophy for us is to make a very balanced wine, very elegant, very pure, very clean. It's our goal. And we are lucky in Sancerre to have this different kind of origin to make this style. And we spend a lot of time to make the blend and to see during maybe from January to March before bottling. It's a big part of our job to see this year how can we make the blend. Yes?
A follow-up question. A few years back, Sancerre was particularly, popular in Paris. Do you make a different style of Sancerre that you ship to Frederick Wild in New York or the American market, which has a fruitier palate? Or do you make a drier, let's say, more Chauvignol, sweaty-oriented style for the French market?
I'm very impatient to reply to this question. When I did start early 90, I was shocked to see that because I did go to visit different growers, and I was shocked when some growers tell me, "Oh, look at this one, it's for the German market because they like a little bit sweet. This one is for English because they like a little bit like this. This one is for Japan." So we don't ask us this kind of question because we believe, and I believe, that our production is quite small compared to the world, and it's our job to impose our style and to make our own style. So it's really something very important for me. If you have a glass of Sancerre in one of the good restaurants in Paris or in a brasserie, or if you go to Japan, to Tokyo, to New York, or maybe if you are lucky you go in a very exotic place, it will be the same wine. Of course, the bottle is not the same day, and I want to show you something, if I can find the picture. Oops. Maybe, I don't know if you see it here. Where is the laser? Yeah, here. We have two big tanks. And I learned that from my experience in Champagne. When I did start to work for a Champagne company, I don't know if I can say the name, but it's well known, and it's Pommery. I learned that I was the youngest to work for them at this time. I was 22 years old, and they were very proud to say that to make a great Brut Sans Année, we use three kind of grapes and one soil. And the key point, it should be the same at Moët & Chandon, Veuve Clicquot, or all the big brands. To make a good Brut Sans Année, we make a balance between the three different kind of grapes. So I was thinking, when I did start in Sancerre, I should bring this idea to Sancerre, because nobody did do that at this time. So I was thinking, to make a good Sancerre, why we shouldn't use the three different soil and find this balance between the soil. Like in Champagne, they use the three different grapes. So it was my idea. And as you can see, concerning the winemaking, where it is. It doesn't work. Yeah. So here we have two big tanks. And what we do, we make a relatively big blend to assure us that the wine, I cannot tell you that the wine is 100% the same during the time we're bottling, which is between March and September. But let's say it's 95% the same kind of wine, because the blend should be a little bit different But the idea is to make the same wine with the same vintage, with the same label. Because I forget to tell you that we have 96% of our wines which are sold under our own label. The 4%, because you will ask me the question, are under the name of the first vineyard that we use. We keep the small, it's Domaine Rix, it's a very small, the first small vineyard that I bought, so we have kept this name for very few customers. So it's really our idea to have the same wine everywhere.
Pascal, could you talk a little bit more about the viticulture, how you prevent bruising and odor and such in the vineyard? How do you keep the vines clean and avoid mildews?
How you keep what?
The vines, the grapes, the bunches clean in the vineyard and avoid mildews in the viticulture more than the winemaking.
Okay, so you ask me what we do, you know.
Yes, what treatments you use in the vineyard.
Yeah, so it's what we did the last few years. We tried to slowly reduce all the treatment that we do in the vineyard. You know, how do you say potassium? We noticed that when we did analyze the soil, that we had a kind of saturation of, for example, potassium. So we did slowly, but let's say slowly but surely. It's like when, let's say you are sick, you know. It's not a sickness, but it's a comparison. You are sick, you take a lot of medicine. Sometimes you cannot stop in one day. So it's what we did try to do, and we continue to do it, to use less and less, how do you say, chemical product in the vineyard, to make it, to use now organic more and more. And the idea is to give to the vines much more vigor, you know. Again, sorry to say that, but when you don't take any chemical thing in your body, you have much more. It's a philosophy, much more vigor. You are less. Yeah, thank you. You are less susceptible to the effect. So it's what we try to do. We didn't decide in one day not to use those kind of products, but we try slowly and again surely to go down, maybe not to zero, but to use less and less chemical thing in the vineyard. It's a long process. Oui.
The acidity on this is just so focused and precise, and I love it. But there's also almost a creamy note to it. I know everything's done in stainless steel, but do you redistribute the lees in any way? Is there any type of batonnage at all?
Mm-hmm. It's very, yeah, I agree, because most of the time people tell me, but do you do batonnage? But we don't. No. We don't. We keep the wine on what we call the big lees. You say big lees or rose lees? And my grandfather did say to me, the lees is like the food of the wine. And it's something, again, logical, you know. How can you make a big wine if you get the juice and the juice after, let's say, the same day you get the grapes, the juice is becoming like that. How can you make a wine with structure if you put out everything? So it's exactly what we try to do, to keep the best lees, which are, like I said before, like the food of the wine, which give us much more structure, much more body to the wine. Of course, we need to be careful to have the good lees, not the bad one. But again, I believe that the acidity is a key point for Sauvignon Blanc. And maybe it's even more integrated on this one than the previous one, if you agree. Sorry? Oui? Yes. The pH? The pH, normally our pH is about 3.2, something like that. And it's true to say that the pH is as important as the acidity. But again, the soil origin give us a different pH. And what we did, for example, in O3, we did make a different balance of the blend. We did use a little bit more flinty origin to get a higher acidity, okay, with a little bit lower pH, and it's what we did try to do. But the pH, again, I don't know here in Long Island what is the pH for Sauvignon Blanc. I have no idea. 3.2, is it more for us or?
3.1 to 3.4.
So it seems to be about the same. Yeah. But we have this natural acidity, which again is coming from the soil and the cool climate, and it's very important. It's really the key point in Sancerre and Pouilly-Fumé. So we need to be we need to keep that, and of course, I noticed that the last few years we harvest a little bit earlier, and it's not a good point for us to have too much alcohol and less acidity and a pH which is moving. So we are also very concerned about that. It's why, before I answer to the question, I don't know, I think you asked me the question about the maturity of the grapes. It's very important to control not only the alcohol, but also the pH and the acidity. And maybe in the future, we'll have to be even more careful to pick the grapes at the right time, even more than now.
Would you ever stagger your harvest so that for each batch you pick a little bit early, a little bit later, and a little bit even later? Or do you always pick everything all at once for each particular wine?
No. We cannot. Of course, we cannot pick the grape at the same times, because I think we have about 60 different parcels, and normally we use about 30, 35 different, people who pick the grapes. So in France, maybe you're not concerned with that, but it's so complicated to have people to come to work in the vineyard during 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So it's a kind of headache because we don't know the day before. Sometimes we have, when there is no rain during harvest, it's very easy to define. We do this today, we do that tomorrow, but sometimes we have to stop during 2 or 3 days because, of course, we don't want to pick the grapes under the rain when there is too much humidity. For example, in 2007, it was a big issue to decide which kind of grape we pick, at what time. And if you think about Sancerre, Pouilly-Fumé all together, it was 1 month between those who decided to start the harvest and those who decided to finish, which is 4 weeks. It's a lot. So it's a big issue for us to, I hope I answer your question, it's a big issue for us to decide where to pick the grape. And normally we pick the grapes in Pouilly later than in Sancerre, but this year in 2007 we decided to change and to pick the grape in Pouilly before Sancerre. So you see, there is not any systematic, how do you say? Systematic in English, what is it?
There is no systematic.
Systematic, there is nothing systematic. Yes?
That at all to vineyard practices? And if so, what vineyard practices allow you to accentuate or maximize that great characteristic?
Which characteristic you speak about? Sorry.
Minerality.
Minerality. Minerality is all about the soil and the terroir. It's obvious that if you look at silex, silex is this kind of soil. You rub the stone. You can make fire. There is much more minerality when you grow your grapes on a flinty soil than when you grow your grape with sand. It's obvious. And we have this minerality in Sancerre, and it's why we like to make this winemaking like that, to keep the natural minerality, which gives make your wine very very lively, very thirsty, very how do you say it? I don't want to say drinkable, but make your wine very clean, very pure. The minerality is very interesting in a wine, and it's coming from the soil, and the soil gives the acidity, and it's a combination of everything.
So is there any vineyard practices that you engage in to make the most of it, or is it just the soil differentials that contribute?
Well, it's a combination, you know. If you have good soil and you don't take care of the soil, at one point you don't get the same. So it's a combination. The idea is to be close to the nature as much as possible, to keep this advantage with the soil. And
for example, sometimes they stress the vine so it goes down deeper.
Yeah.
Take up minerality. Is there certain procedures you try to go through, or techniques that you guys try to engage in so that you max out and get that? Is there rules of thumb on stressing the vines?
You know, the vines in a clay soil in Sancerre, the vines are going deeper. With a flinty soil or with a chalky soil, they are not going so deep. So you don't get the same you don't get the same taste, of course. You don't get the same acidity. You don't have the same. For example, it should be interesting to taste 3 different Sancerre, one from silex, one from clay, one from chalk, and you will get the answer. You know, it's something which is obvious. The soil make a different kind of wine. So, oui, sorry.
One more question.
One more? Only? Who wants to be the last one? Sorry, I didn't answer to your question. I'm really sorry.
Ask you about your vineyard. The altitude, the length of the growing season. I live in a mountainous area, and I'm interested in how we're similar or dissimilar from you.
What?
What is the altitude of your vineyard? What type of climate do you have? What is your growing season?
Is it one? Okay, I show you something. No, it's in my pocket, sorry. It's why it doesn't work, maybe. Oops. I just realized I didn't show you the picture. Oops. This is winter. We have some snow. You have snow here in Long Island? You can see we have some clouds sometimes. So you see, Sancerre, oops, is the top of the hill. It's about 350 meters high, like the Eiffel Tower, to give you an idea. Not so high. So 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet? Okay, 1,000 feet. So the vineyard in Sancerre, in Pouilly-Fumé, the vineyard are very are much low, very close to the river. It's why we get much more humidity in Pouilly-Fumé, much more cloud. So maybe it affects also the style of the wine in Pouilly-Fumé. Maybe, as Chris just says, the Pouilly-Fumé style is a little bit different. In Sancerre, it's in between 100 meters, like 300 feet and 1,000 feet. We get a little bit problem with erosion when you go to the hill. So when you get the clay soil, it's very difficult to avoid erosion. And of course, the maturation of the grapes is very different. But we have, in our case, we have some vineyards which are quite high, like 700-800 feet. Okay. And all those vineyards on hill, we do it by hand, and it depends of the vintage. But we of course notice that the maturation of the grapes is much better on those hills when they are very well exposed, like southeast exposition.
Bud break?
Sorry?
Bud break? Time of bud break?
What grapes?
Bud break.
What is it? Ah. What do you mean by what? Ah. No, it's a little bit early on the hilly. Yeah, it's a little bit early. Not that much, but a little. Sorry?
February, March?
Yeah, end of February, early March. Yeah. Flowering is about early June, 15. You know. But it's very strange because we like to say that we have to harvest 100 days after the floraison. I think it's the same for you. And in 2007, nothing like that happened. The flowering season was quite early, but it was absolutely impossible to harvest 100 days after the flowering season. So it's something which we cannot explain. We didn't have enough natural alcohol, so we had to wait. It's why I tell you before that it was 1 month between those who started and those who finished. You know. It was very.
Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt.
You got to answer.
Okay.
Do you measure turbidity in your must?
I think it will be the more difficult one. Huh?
You know, what's the strength UVAP value in the clarity of your must? They measure in France and everywhere turbidity.
Humidity?
Turbidité, non, la turbidité des goûts.
Ah.
What is the number?
I don't know.
Okay, because we hold bunch press and we use cloudy leaves, and I'm doing 120 turbidity, which is natural winemaking, just like you. What I want to know is, what chemicals do you use? Because you have Peronospora, you have mildew. You know, what are you spraying in the vineyard? You're just doing copper, sulfur? Are you using strobilurin?
No, our vines are never blue. Is it a good finish?